Hey gang, today we're going to take a look at the HSL or color panel inside of Lightroom. Now, this is where you're going to be able to do a lot of color correction as well as add some pretty cool tones to your images. So after we go through it, we're going to apply it to two different images. The first one being this one, so that afterwards it'll look like this. And the second being this one, so afterwards it'll look like this. Here we are inside of Lightroom, and the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a color wheel instead of an actual image. I'm hoping that this color wheel will help you guys understand what's going on as we work through the different sliders and I explain them to you in this HSL panel. Now, before we open up the HSL color panel, I want you guys to know that there are 4 different ways you can view this panel, and I'm going to show you all 4 of them before we dig into it too deep. The HSL color panel is located underneath the tone curve on the right side. If we click on color, it'll automatically open up and you'll see that we have our reds, oranges, yellows, etc. And under each color you're going to see hue, saturation, and luminance. Now another view we can have is we can go to the top bar and we can click on the individual colors, and again we'll see hue, saturation, and luminance. So this is the first 2 different ways you can view this panel. Now let's go back up to the header bar, and instead of clicking on color, let's click on HSL this time. So now you'll see we have hue, saturation, luminance, and underneath all of these you'll see your different colors. This is our third view, and our final view is if you click on any of the hue, saturation, or luminance at the top, you can view those sections individually. Now we'll go all the way over to the right. We'll click on all. This is how I like to use this panel. This is how I like to view it, but you should definitely work with it and see what works best for you. The first part we're going to look at is hue, and what hue's going to let you do is if you don't like a particular color, you can actually adjust that color to what you remember or what you think looks better in the image. So let's take blue for example. And if we look on our color spectrum in the blue area as we adjust the slider, if we move it right, we can actually move it towards purple. And if we move it left, we can get more of an aqua color out of it. And if we double click, it'll center it back at 0. Now let's scroll down and we'll look at the saturation. And saturation is the strength of the color inside of your image. So you can either boost colors or you can take away colors so that everything is evened out. So let's look at our purples for example, and if we go to the right you'll see that that purple color gets a lot stronger. As we go to the left we actually take the purple out of the color wheel. The last section we're going to look at is luminance, and that's just the brightness of your color. So we'll look at the reds for this one, and if you go to the right your colors get a lot brighter, and if you go to the left they get a lot darker. In this panel, if you look next to luminance, saturation, or hue, you'll see to the left a little dot. Now if you click on that dot and then you go to your image and you click and you drag your mouse up or you drag your mouse down, it'll actually make adjustments to the color that you're clicking on. So if you've got a color and you just really can't figure out what it is and you keep trying to find it by making adjustments on the sliders, this is a good quick way to fix those colors. Another tip for this panel is if you've been going through and you're making a ton of color corrections and you walk away from your image and you come back and you look at it and you go, what was I thinking? Instead of going to each individual slider and double clicking, you can just go to the header, say hue for example. If you double click on that, it will automatically reset all the sliders in that section. Alright. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of how to use the HSL color panel, because now we're going to jump back into Lightroom and we're going to apply it to those 2 photos I showed you at the beginning. But before we do that, I want you to know that I've already gone through and I've made corrections in the basic panel and the tone curve panel to these images. If you want to see how to use either one of those panels, I'll put a link up there for you guys to watch. So here's our first photo. It's a sunset on the beach, and as you can see the sun has kind of blown out a lot of the colors from this photo. So we're going to focus on color correcting and bringing back a lot of those beautiful sunset colors. The first section we're going to look at is hue, and we're going to start by lowering our yellows a little bit, and we're going to raise our reds a little bit. Then we're going to go back and we're actually going to lower our oranges a little bit. Next, we're going to go down to our magentas, and we're going to lower those towards purple, and we're going to take our purples and we're going to raise them towards magenta, just trying to even things out. And then we'll go up to aquas, and we'll actually add a little bit more blue into our aquas. Now let's go down to saturation, and we're going to raise the saturation on our reds, our oranges, and our yellows. Next, we'll raise the saturation on our blues and our aquas. Moving right along, we're going to go down to our luminance, and we're going to raise our reds, oranges, and yellows. And you can see what will happen if you go all the way to the right with your yellows and all the way to the left. See how it really distorts that image. So you just want minor corrections here. Then we're going to go down and we're actually going to darken up our blues and our aquas. Alright, that looks pretty good. I think we're done. So I'm going to turn this panel off and I'll turn it back on, and you guys can see what a difference it has made on this image. Alright, we'll keep moving and we're going to jump straight into our next image. Here we've got a picture of a volcano with some rolling hills in front of it. And as you can see, the brightness of the grasses kind of are taking away from the volcano, so we actually want to darken those up, and it's going to give it this overall really dramatic and moody tone when we're done with it. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll jump into hue, and we're actually not going to do that much here. All we're really going to do is we're going to take our yellows and add a little bit more green, and then we're going to go down to our blues and we're going to add a tiny bit more purple. Now we're going to go down to saturation, and we're going to take some of the color out of our yellows, take some of the color out of our greens, and then we're going to actually add a little bit of color back into our blues. Now let's go into the luminance section, and we're going to darken up our yellows, we're going to darken up our greens, and then we're going to actually lighten up the blues. And if you look up at the mountaintop, you'll see it kind of gives it a misty vibe up there. And overall, we've got a much moodier, dramatic tone in this image. And again, I'll turn the panel off and I'll turn it back on, and you can see how much of effect this panel has had on this image. The last thing I want to say about the HSL color panel is it's all personal preference. The best thing you can do is mess with the sliders, oversaturate, undersaturate, change hues, make crazy edits until you get a better understanding of how they're going to affect different colors and different images. With that being said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit like, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.